Hello and welcome to the Talking NorCal podcast, the official podcast of Active NorCal. I am your host, Zach O'Brien, and with me here, it's Fox News Bobby. How you doing, Fox News Bob?
I'm feeling really good. Fox News, okay?
That's a joke, but...
I am on the news. It is a Fox channel, but it is not actually Fox News.
Bob has been, if anyone that listens to this doesn't know, Bob was on the hit TV show Master Chef with Gordon Ramsay, and there's a current season going on, I guess, and I don't know, I haven't watched it, but... He now goes on Fox 40 Sacramento every Wednesday to discuss the episodes. He's sort of become this local Master Chef expert.
Well, it's just I'm probably the only former Master Chef contestant in Northern California, which is actually pretty weird. But
oh yeah, that's a good point.
I'm here in Sacramento, and literally they reached out to me and they're like, "We really are trying to promote this season. Would you like to come on and do an interview?" I did. I went on, did the interview. It went well. They're like, "You want to do this every week?" I'm like, "Sure." So
local news personality,
Z-list celebrity,
Chef Brian O'Brien. They've actually been really good, and he went in. I guess this will be coming out later this week. He's been going in now, and you look great on camera.
Appreciate it.
I know you still want to lose a couple lbs after quarantine,
Definitely.
but you'll get there.
I was the whole time last week that I was in studio, all I could think about was suck it in, Bobby, suck it in.
I thought you looked great, and you did really well. So everyone, I can't believe I'm gonna promote this, but everyone tune in to Fox 40 every Wednesday. It is right every Wednesday. To see Chef Brian O'Brien.
I'll be cooking this week, so when this comes out, you can go find that clip online. I'll be cooking a mystery box. I don't know what it is going to be.
Yeah, we should post all these clips on our website because it is fun. It is fun to watch.
Post them on my own social media. Follow me at Chef Brian O'Brien.
Chef Brian O'Brien, there you go. We have a fun episode. No guest this week. There's so much news going on and a lot I wanted to talk about, so we are just going to hop right into everything going on. Let's start with the Tahoes, hella NorCal.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to do kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.
So we've actually been going viral lately.
The salmon video, yeah, big time.
So it's our new strategy on social media at Active NorCal is to try out these new videos. I'm sure anyone that's on social knows that these videos are sort of taking over these short hit videos. TikTok is sort of leading the charge. And we've kind of done some crazy viral videos. So we posted, it's been a week now since we're recording this, that we posted a video of our good friend Mike Rasmussen. Follow him at Salmon Sac River. Sorry.
If you want to catch and see humongous salmon being
caught.
And
he's the one we went out with and caught those massive salmon last season. But we posted a video of him catching a giant Chinook salmon in a net, and it went crazy viral, like over 2 million people. And
I mean, it breached, and so that's what's really cool is huge salmon breaches, and Mike got his net underneath it. It's a great slow-mo clip. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to see the viral stuff happening, and shout out to Mike, who we're going to get on this podcast soon because salmon season just started. And we're actually going to have a long discussion about NorCal salmon here coming up later. Also, our TikTok is going off. Do you follow Active NorCal on TikTok, right?
I do. Yes, I do follow Active
NorCal. And you're on TikTok.
I am on TikTok.
At Chef Brian O'Brien. So our TikTok has been going nuts lately. We have a one video. Where is it here? 2 million views.
Which one is it?
It's the girl skiing across the lake,
skimming,
which actually went somewhat viral on our Facebook and Instagram as well. But 2 million views. Then we have another 250,000 views on one of a rock climber in Yosemite. So it's been kind of a crazy month, and these videos are a lot of fun to sort of mess around with. You get to put some video to it on TikTok and Instagram. So it's yeah, we're going to keep doing this. Follow us if you don't, by the
Totally.
way. Follow us at Active NorCal, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, because it's been kind of crazy lately.
Yeah, I fell into the TikTok craze during quarantine, and most of the stuff I follow is golf content at this point because that's another thing I picked up during quarantine. But yeah, I think TikTok is the driver of these shorter kind of viral videos.
One of these days, I'm going to make a commitment to post to my personal. I've written down a bunch of like TikTok ideas for like my personal page, and I've posted nothing on it yet, at Zach D. O'Brien.
I posted one that we did for Active NorCal of us dancing several years ago right in front of Mount Shasta. And then I think I've done 2 like short little cooking videos, both absolute garbage. So if you go to my TikTok, don't think that low quality content will continue. The high quality stuff's to come.
It's around the corner. The high quality is around the corner. Well, it's fun. We have fun with all this stuff, and social media is kind of the name of our game around here. So it's just fun watching everything go viral. But we have some other viral stuff to discuss this week. So let's hop into the news of the week.
First story, this incredible video shows a car flying 50 feet into the air on Highway 99 near Yuba City.
You watch this?
I did several times.
It's insane.
Yeah, and the most insane thing is that 0 injuries were sustained.
Yeah. So we can't share this on the podcast because the person who took it, rightfully so, licensed it out to Viral Hog, and we actually have it on our website. There's a YouTube video that has it. So this lady hit and run right off it wasn't on Highway 99, but like a different offshoot of Highway 99 near Yuba City. So she runs after the hit and run. She's going 100 miles an hour on this, this tiny little road.
25-mile-an-hour road.
25-mile-an-hour road. There's a sharp turn. She doesn't take the sharp turn. She flies 50 feet into the air and lands kind of at her front and then flips over and ends on her back. The video was taken by Brian Conejo, who was actually using his company car, and his company car had surveillance video. And shockingly, go watch this video because it's insane. Shockingly, she walked out uninjured out of the hospital.
She flies like it looks like she flew off a professionally made ramp.
It's crazy.
Like, you could not have planned that better if you were trying to get higher in the air. Insane. The hit and run. Clearly they caught her. Thankfully, nobody was injured. A couple of these videos that we're going to talk about today, really, the people that are taking the videos are incredibly aware of what's happening in the moment. Like, the first thing that you hear him say is, call 911, instantly. And a couple of the other videos that we'll talk about later, just the people's presence of mind to be aware of what's happening and to react the way that they did in a good way is something that is a theme to me in the videos that we're going to talk about today.
And the longer video of this, actually, I couldn't embed it because it's protected on YouTube, so it couldn't go up on the website. But the guy actually gets out of his car and runs to the car and tries to save the woman, which is kind of crazy because it looks like the car's about to explode.
Right.
I'm like,
I didn't see the longer video.
Yeah, the longer video, which it doesn't show much. It just shows the car laying there smoking and then the guy running over to it.
How do you feel about people that literally record themselves driving all the time?
Well, so this was a company car that he has to. I think he works for some company. I forget what it said. But so it's a company car that they actually install cameras on. So he didn't have it in his personal vehicle. It's like a,
because a lot of people do have them in their personal vehicles now, and that's why you see these videos going viral. And I've never wanted. I guess here's the deal. I have had somebody hit me, and then they didn't have insurance, and I got screwed out of that deal. But it wasn't such a difficult thing where I'm like, for the rest of my life, I'm going to record every second that I drive just in case someone hits me and wants to take me to court. It's just not. And I like videos. Clearly, I'm all about making videos, but that's just not something that I've ever really wanted to do.
I've also, knock on wood, I've also never seen anything like this crazy, obviously. I've never seen anything I've seen some cars on fire on the side of the road.
What about semi? on the railroad tracks when we were kids.
I don't remember that.
Remember, so we were coming back from Mount Shasta snowboarding. We were in our dad's van. We're almost home, and right at Gervan, a semi-truck loaded full of cars was high-centered on the railroad tracks, and a train hit it.
I do not remember that.
There was a
You sure I was in the car?
There was a pink Jeep Grand Cherokee on top, and it flew. So you see the driver getting out of the truck. He's clearly like radioing in somebody, but he sees the train coming. The train sees it coming. There's nothing anybody can do about it. And I tried to get the video camera out in time. Dad calls 911. They had already heard about it. Like, the driver was like, dude, I'm about to get hit. There's nothing I can do. And so now there's a sign at that Gervan track, like, for semis, don't high center. That's the craziest thing I think I've seen.
I mean, I guess I've seen some kind of crazy stuff, but nothing like this. And what's the most shocking about this video, and you can't really tell unless you look closely, she flies through power lines. Did you notice that? So there's a lower power line, and then there's two higher power lines, and she flies between the two, which is like, you know, how higher power lines are super high in the air. And if she hits one, she's dead, right?
Well, and also, the second time I watched it, I'm noticing, I'm like looking where I know the car is going to come from. And there's actually a car driving the other way. So she cleared that whole lane, that whole part of because she's coming the opposite direction. And so she very well could have hit another car in the other lane, could have flown over it. It's crazy that nobody got hurt in this crazy accident that thankfully we got video of.
I know. And like, these aren't things that we should necessarily joke about, but she walked away clean. No one got hurt. And she got busted for her hit and run. So there were people in the comments that were like, "Oh, this is so," and it's like, you know, no harm, no foul.
It's a win for everybody. We get to enjoy this content, and she gets caught, and nobody got hurt.
Yes, but that was the viral video of the week. That was kind of fun.
So the next video that we'll talk about is just a really short video, but it's kind of at the end of the process of a Tesla being pulled out of the ocean in Humboldt. Yes.
So there is a Tesla X. It's one of those like Tesla SUVs that, and by the way, these cars get stuck out there all the time, and they're idiots because I guess it's just easy to drive out onto the beach. This is Centerville Beach, just west of Ferndale. And this Tesla X drove out there, gets stuck out in the water, and this local like redneck who had all these rigs came out and pulled it out. But the photos are crazy. That thing is almost all the way into the ocean. And quite frankly, that thing is done. Like, you know, there's not much you can salvage.
It's an electric vehicle that's been submerged into the ocean.
Yeah, there's not much you can do about it. But it is good that these local rednecks with their rigs pulled it out for environmental reasons.
Love the story because this is kind of the rednecks combine their power to do something that the professionals aren't able to do. In this area, there is a tow truck company, but no tow truck companies have the ability to go out on the sand and rescue cars like this. And as you mentioned, this happens all the time. Mike
Astry, let's say his name, Mike Astry.
He was talking to the owner of this Tesla, and the owner says, well, in the Bay Area where I live, I drive on the beach all the time. And he says, well, the sand is a lot softer here. And clearly there's the ability to get access to the ocean. There's not very many beaches that I know of that you can just drive right up on it and it's totally cool. So he says this happens all the time, but he is the local rescue squad. Like and it's kind of his side gig. And what's great about it is we grew up in Redding, and you know there's a lot of big trucks in Redding, and I definitely wanted a big truck when I was growing up. And everybody can make fun of big trucks all you want, but this is the time in which everybody that has a big truck, they come together, they winched out this big Tesla and saved the ocean, saved this car. Well, I don't know. They might total the car, but I just think that the powers combined of these off-road vehicles, it's a great story.
Rednecks to the rescue. That's what they estimated. The car, with everything weighing it down, was about 10,000 pounds that they had to pull out. And this guy, Astri, has estimated he's towed out approximately 60 to 70 vehicles from the beaches on the North Coast this year.
This year.
I know. I see photos all the time of people getting stuck out there, and it's like, what are you doing? And, I guess there's probably easy access to the beach from the road there. It is such a remote area of the North Coast, but, it's crazy. And by the way, that Teslas are all-wheel drive. Like, you can't drive any car out there, let alone drive it so close to the water unless you're a redneck.
Yeah, what I love about this is the article that I read on this. Right at the end is Mike's phone number. If you get stuck, here's his phone number. Just hit Mike up himself. Shout out Mike Astri.
If the towing company can't pull the Tesla out of the ocean and you can, you might be a redneck.
And it looks like he just has a big-ass Chevy, lifted, big tires.
Well, there were multiple Jeeps.
That also helped.
There were multiple
he
Jeeps with winches.
He's like, Mr. I'm going to organize all. It's mostly Jeeps, though. You're right.
Yeah, it's Jeeps with winches. Yeah.
So another very viral video.
We got a ton today.
This one, I really think the guy's presence of mind was just totally there. Hiker captures the moment a lightning strike starts a wildfire in the Sierras.
Yeah, go check this out on our website because it's pretty awesome. And the video's a little long. You kind of just got to wait to find the spot. When the lightning strikes.
The lightning strikes right at the beginning. I think he highlights it at the beginning and then it goes through the longer.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes in or something. But so a big lightning strike happens. This guy's hiking on Mount Rose on the eastern side of Lake Tahoe. And right after that, he sees a helicopter coming in. Like, they clearly saw the lightning in the area.
He saw the plume of smoke first.
Well, so these people who are tracking this stuff, they can see when lightning's striking, like from Doppler or whatever. And so they send out helicopters to go check it out. And sure enough, it started a fire. And luckily, this was not one of the major fires that we'll talk about later that are currently plaguing Northern California. But having a visual video representation of why these fires start so easily in the Sierra it's pretty awesome to see.
Great footage. You can clearly see the lightning strike, and then you can hear him kind of narrate through what was happening. He's like, I definitely got video of that. And then a couple minutes later, he sees the smoke, and he's like, that's right where it happened. He literally is. And then he sees this all coming together and realizes, I need to stay on this story. I got to watch this fire progress. And also, I'm noticing that there's clouds. It's a thunderstorm, right? So there's a storm in the area, and it looks like it's raining. So, but he says it was hail. Hail doesn't put fire out very efficiently compared to rain. So you see this, and then he sees the helicopter coming, and it goes and collects some water, and it's a great video. I want to know what kind of camera he used personally.
I think he just used his phone.
It could have been a GoPro because it has a little bit of the fisheye kind of a look.
What's interesting is in years past, all of our major wildfires were typically human caused, right? So because our fuels are so dry, because of this drought we're in, and because of climate change and all this, and on top of historic fuels, we haven't been able to clean the forest over the last 100 years like we used to. These lightning strikes are now creating hundreds of thousands of acres of burned land. So this is what's different. Last year, all those lightning complex fires, those would not have happened if we didn't have all these dry fuels. And so I think this is what's so unprecedented about this year is these lightning strikes happen all the time in this Sierra, but they actually turn into massive wildfires because of this enormous drought we're having. And like I said, we'll talk about the fires a little bit later, but it's incredible to see it happen. And quite frankly, it's scary because if we get one of these massive storms like we did last July that started the CZU lightning complex and the LZU or whatever that ended up burning a combined like 1 million acres. That's a problem. So really cool video. Check it out on Active NorCal.
Now, this last story isn't a video, but I wish it was. Northern California town hosts its first all-cannabis farmers market.
Yeah, I thought you'd like this, and I think this is really cool. It's Laytonville, California, up there in Mendocino. They organized they say over 15 licensed cannabis farmers in Mendocino County to have the first all-cannabis farmers market. So literally, you can go there, you can talk to the grower, you can buy their products, you can ask them how they grow it, where they grow it, yada, yada, yada. The growers can all talk to each other and sort of network, I suppose. And, you know, I guess the question is this like going to be a growing thing in the Emerald Triangle?
The answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, cannabis is the cash crop of that region of the world. I mean, it's by reputation producing some of the highest quality in the entire country, if not the world. And it's part of the culture there now. It's part of the everyday conversations. It's part of why people go visit there tourism-wise. And so they're embracing it. And I think it's great as long as it's regulated and it's all legal. I'm so all for this. You know, I think that we're going to see a ton more of this. This is the first one, which is great. They're kind of setting the tone, but this is the cannabis industry is definitely on an uptick. Yeah,
it's fascinating to me, and we've been trying to cover this more. Go check out NorCal Cannabis Review on Facebook. We're writing a lot about the cannabis in Northern California and the production of the Emerald Triangle, but it just feels like there's this, it's slow, but this movement towards like Napa, right? Towards the Emerald Triangle of Mendocino and Humboldt and Trinity counties becoming the Napa of cannabis. And, you know, we also, there was an article written about you can actually go on a tour of legal cannabis farms in Mendocino. There's this company called the Mendocino Experience that they'll take you to a dispensary, they'll take you to a legal farm. You can walk around the property and see how they do it. You can ask questions of the grower. And it's similar to that experience of a Napa wine tour, right? Where you want to pick the brain of the, what do they call it? A vintner?
Winemaker.
Winemaker. And see, I mean, there's different blends and there's different ways to, you know, grow weed. It's similar to wine. I mean, it's a little bit different of a process, but not entirely, right?
Well, with the weed cultivation, it's all about growing and then drying, whereas the real wine production starts after harvest, where, you know, weed is all front loaded, whereas wine is, you know, you are obviously paying very close attention to your fruit, but a lot can change in the fermentation process. But it's cool to hear you say that the Mendocino area is kind of becoming Napa. I never really have thought about that. Do you see
the Emerald Triangle, I'll say,
right,
because I think Humboldt still leads the charge, but Mendocino is embracing the legal aspect, I think, a little bit more. I think there's still Humboldt growers that have refused to become quote-unquote legal, even though they're totally legit, you know. They've been probably doing it for decades, and they don't want to pay the taxes, which makes sense. But Mendocino seems to be trying to promote itself as the legal weed market of California.
Well, and they could bring a ton of money to that area.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about Napa, and when you're driving through Napa, everything is, like, pristine. It's all super, super nice. There's tons of money there. I can see the Emerald Triangle in 20, 30 years having that feel, you know, having that high, expensive feel to it, and it not is wine driven, it's 100% cannabis driven. That's a pretty cool idea to think about.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Northern Lights Music Festival?
I have not.
It's the only festival, I don't know about in the United States, it's the only festival in California that allows purchase of cannabis on site.
That's cool.
So they have dispensaries there selling weed for you to smoke at the festival. Because let's just be honest with the world. Everyone's smoking weed at these festivals anyway. Let's stop beating around the bush. Let's let legal farmers make money off it. And
I don't know if I've ever been to a concert where I didn't smuggle weed in.
yeah. So it's like, these slowly but surely we're getting these events that are normalizing what, quite frankly, has been being done for decades, which is,
Well, and alcohol has always been and alcohol. I mean, like if you see somebody who's smoked 3 joints, they are not going to be doing a lot of rowdy stuff. Whereas somebody who's drank a full bottle of whiskey, rowdiness ensues.
Right. And this Mendocino Experience Company, which is actually, I believe they're based out of San Francisco. They'll drive you they'll like take you up from San Francisco and they'll give you a tour. Like you can go to a winery. As well as a cannabis,
that sounds like
place.
A cool experience. I didn't know about
sounds
that
really
tour.
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be a great video too.
So these, again, slowly but surely, I think there's a lot of pushback, both from the people who are illegal and have been in the area forever, but also just the people who are bah humbug about weed itself. And but this is, and this is why we wanted to start NorCal Cannabis Reviews, because it is growing, and I do see it as sort of the Napa of cannabis. And I just think that region is going to change, and it's become, I don't know the word, tourism-y.
Yeah.
It's going
to attract a lot more tourism. No doubt about it.
Cannabis tourism is going to be a thing.
It's 100% going to be an industry.
Which is crazy, because we watched that documentary Sasquatch, which just talks about how they basically had this military campaign about weed growers in that region for a decade. And now it's completely flipped, and these people are able to use their skills, their green thumbs, to attract money and tourists and growing economy. So
love to see it. We are
I think it's a good
literally
thing.
living in a dream that I had when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are.
Yes. So anyway, I don't know when they're going to do this farmers market again. This was the first one. I think they were sort of trying it out, but I believe they'll probably be doing it again right there in Laytonville, California. Cool story. Will the Emerald Triangle become the Napa of cannabis? Only time will tell.
So now we have to have a little bit more of a not so fun conversation. It's really a continue of a conversation we've had before. And we're talking about Northern California salmon, more specifically Chinook salmon. Now, the first story, and they're all kind of tied together. Wildlife officials fear all juvenile salmon could die on the Sacramento River this summer.
Yeah, these are the winter run Chinook salmon. And, these different hatcheries produce millions of juvenile salmon a year. And, only about 1% of them actually return, most of them die as juvenile. They get eaten by bass, or they just don't make it for whatever reason. Then they have to go out into the ocean and deal with all the, the predators in the ocean and whatever could happen out there. And then they come back, which is an arduous journey. It's hard to actually spawn as a salmon, to make it back to your spawning ground and to do it. And that's how they so they do millions a year, and about 1% of those millions come back. This year, they released all these Chinook salmon, and we've talked about how they tried to do it at different areas than they've done in the past. They moved it closer to the San Francisco Bay in order for these juvenile salmon to sort of have an easier journey out to the ocean. But California Department of Fish and Wildlife are now saying that the drought and the warm water of the Sacramento River could kill all these winter run juvenile Chinook salmon, which means in 3 to 5 years, we could have almost nothing. We could barely be fishing for these guys anymore. So it's really sad.
Yeah. So, in researching this, it's something that really a light bulb moment for me was, these are winter run Chinook salmon, and they, in their heritage many, many years ago, were spawning in really, really cold, icy waters, above where Shasta Dam currently is. When Shasta Dam went in, they had to change their normal, natural, breeding ground or what have you, and and it had to come lower the stream, which is much colder. You're further away from the snow that is Mount Shasta, that cold water. So they love this cold water. They love to spawn in the really, really cold waters of the Sacramento River. But with the water levels going down, with the high heat that we're having and the lack of precipitation, the water is warmer and there's less of these cold pockets. And we usually are releasing a good amount of water from Shasta Lake through Shasta Dam every year of the really cold water because it's a really deep lake. But this year in this article, 46% what it usually is in a normal year. And so there's not going to be an ample amount of cold water to release to alleviate any of the natural drought conditions we're having. And so that's, for me, it was the cold water thing. Like, I think that, yes, there's less water, right? And and that warms things up. But to me, this morning in doing research, that's what really stuck out. The cold water pockets.
Well, warmer water means less oxygen.
Right.
That's kind of and yes, they are going to be, like cooked to death, kind of is what they're saying. But the warm water means there's not as much oxygen in the water, which means they somewhat suffocate. Like we know with fish with gills, they take oxygen from the water and they extract it or whatever. But there's a lot of really bad things. For one, we put a shitload of money into keeping these salmon alive, right? Because our practices of damming water and all sorts of things that we've done as a mistake in the past have limited these salmon, which you talk to any of the Native Americans that used to be along the McCloud River, and they said you could basically walk across the river because the salmon were like, they couldn't even fit in the river. There's so many. And now
they're like endangered.
Yeah. And now it's because of the drought, because of climate change, because of our own policies and dam building and everything. We might not have these fish in our lifetime anymore.
It's crazy to think that an entire generation can be wiped out, and these fish don't live that long. And so this is a good portion of those fish that are living right now. And so it sucks. We talked about this, how it was possible, but it's becoming more and more reality that we're really going to lose an entire generation of these juvenile salmon. And it sucks because this is their home. It's our fault. It's literally 100% our fault. I mean, yes, you can blame climate change, but I have a feeling that had we not thrown in all of the dams and overfished certain areas, that they would have survived.
Yeah. And you just think about the effort put in by the Coleman Fish Hatchery, the largest fish hatchery in the entire United States that puts out the most fish in the entire United States. And not all their fish, but all of their winter run fish are going to die. That's crazy. Over millions. There's going to be millions of these dead fish. So again, we really won't know until 3 to 5 years from now when these numbers are so low that they're almost non-existent.
Well, just to what you were saying, kind of the next story it's part of this same conversation. Wildlife officials relocate over 1 million hatchery salmon due to the Klamath River drought conditions.
Yeah, I mean, well, this goes to a much bigger issue on the Klamath River, but this is sort of the same thing, right? The Klamath River, because of its dams, because of these hydroelectric dams that we've talked about a bazillion times, the water is stagnant, it is warm, it doesn't flow very well, and the poor water conditions, are really looking bad for the fall run Chinook salmon, not the winter run, the fall run. So at the Iron Gate Fish Hatchery up there in Siskiyou County, they saw how bad it was, and they took these 1.1 million juvenile salmon that were sitting in their tanks, and they actually moved them. Where did they move them?
To another hatchery.
Yeah, to the Trinity River Hatchery. That's right. Where, because they're like, we can't release them into the Klamath. They'll die. They will all die, and all of this will be for naught. So this is And of course, once we remove these dams on the Klamath River, these fish are going to come back like so quick. It's like the conditions are going to be primed for them. We saw it in the big dam removal up in Washington where the salmon came back immediately. And, Shasta Dam is a very important dam for the entire state. I mean, if it weren't for the Shasta Dam, like Sacramento would be underwater every once in a while. But unfortunately, that dam will limit the Sacramento River, salmon runs forever. Whereas these Klamath River dams don't do anything worthwhile anymore. So we have the opportunity to actually bring these fish back through the Klamath River, and that's going to be really interesting to see. But for now, I mean, this is another entire group of these salmon that are going to be gone. So I guess there's nothing we can do about it at this point. We might as well bring them over to the Trinity River, I guess. But it's a really sad year for salmon and for a lot of things.
This story gave me another level of respect for hatcheries because I'm thinking about it. So they're raising these salmon in this one hatchery, and they usually release them to the Klamath River, but they're deciding if we do that, that'll be detrimental for these fish. So we're going to move them over to another hatchery. Now, the problem that I see with that is that other hatchery probably had plans for that space. So what are they giving up? The tanks that they're then putting these 1 million fish in, there were fish in there before, or there were plans on fish being in there in the future. So basically, these two hatcheries have come together and just said, like, our main focus is to save this fish, this species of fish. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for these hatcheries. I think when I was growing up, hatchery fish were always kind of scoffed a little bit. But without these hatcheries, these fish species would go extinct.
Well, salmon are different than like trout. Like a rainbow trout, a hatchery trout is different. But necessary. These hatchery trout are definitely necessary. But this temporary relocation marks the first time the California Department of Fish and Wildlife has not released salmon into the Klamath River since 1962.
It's insane.
That's how bad this is. Since 1962, every single year, the Iron Gate Fish Hatchery has released these fish. And, they're just like, well, why would we send them to their death? They will certainly die if they don't and lose the entire generation of fish.
It's just kind of like keeping a newborn child in the hospital a little bit longer just to make sure that it's more healthy and ready for the real world. And I love it. I think it's a great story. Anything that we can do to save this salmon species, I'm all for, because we got this climate change is happening. It's way too hot. We get zero rain here, and it feels like we need to change the name of this podcast to Talking Drought.
Yeah, it's all we can talk about. I mean, it's the salmon are done. The freaking fires are burning everything. We can't go anywhere because it's too smoky. We can't do anything in the outdoors because you might start a fire. It's just like I feel like we're paralyzed by this drought. You can't drop a boat into Lake Orville or Folsom Lake. The shoreline at Shasta Lake is in half. It's like, what else can you talk about? This is we're like, we talk about outdoor culture in Northern California. Well, outdoor culture is pretty much paralyzed due to this drought. And I mean, it's not going to stop us from doing what we do. It's not going to stop us, from going out and doing fun stuff. Of course not. But it certainly limits our ability to do so. And by the way, I can't wait till we get a fishing guide out here to talk with us about the long-term impacts of this drought on the salmon, because and Mike Rasmussen's going to be that guy. I got to get him on here soon. But I know he's got a lot of opinions about this, and he knows so much about it because he lives and breathes catching salmon all season long. So,
and I haven't done it in a while, so I guess we got to
We're only happy when it rains.
I'll just stop that one early. But yeah,
Because we really need the rain in NorCal.
Rain dance!
Yeah.
well, kind of staying on the same topic. Salmon fishing season opens on Sacramento River.
Yeah, I guess there's not much to add to this other than, from what I've seen, and it's the start of the season. From what I've seen, it hasn't been off the charts great salmon fishing quite yet. And who knows, maybe that could be due to a few different factors. But if you do want to go salmon fishing, you might want to do it this season because it's just going to keep declining. And go watch our video of us doing it. It was so fun, and it's so amazing catching those big Chinook salmon because they're dinosaurs. They are massive, massive fish.
We got lucky that day because we had the best guides in the biz. I mean, we had 4 over 50-pound fish. Maybe 40.
No, they're 40.
We had 50 pounds of meat is what we got.
Yeah, but the fish, I think 4 fish totaled 120 pounds, and then we got 40 pounds of meat from those guys. But that was, to me, that was such a up-close look at just these massive salmon, that you can get. And
that we want to save. You get more of an appreciation when you see them, feel how strong they are, and know that this is their natural I mean, we're more foreign to this area than they are. They were here first.
I don't even know how long. Thousands of years. Thousands, if not millions, that they've been doing this, and we're completely ruining it. All right, good job, humans. But that's all. Salmon fishing opened July 15th or July 16th, I believe. And so it's open on the Sacramento River. If you don't know, they close because they're trying to protect certain salmon runs and letting salmon spawn before everyone catches them. And because then we wouldn't have any wild salmon anymore. They'd all just be hatchery fish. But it's going on right now. It's super fun. Barge Hole over there up in near Red Bluff is off the charts again, seeing some photos, but it doesn't seem like it has the same oomph that it's had in recent years, and I don't know if that's because of this drought. Although we've had like a couple years of drought now, so I guess that makes sense that this is the byproduct of years of drought. So but it's starting. If you're looking for a salmon fishing guide, check it. Go online and check it. There's a ton out there, and I do recommend it because it's a lot of fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't caught a fish in I don't even know how long. The first fish I caught was like a 40-pound salmon. That was an electric feeling, and shout out to those guys.
Yeah. And if you don't know, like, salmon don't eat any food. When they're coming up to spawn, they don't eat, but they are pissy.
Yeah, you just got to piss them off.
And so you're basically starting a fight with them, and then they hurt things by biting them, and they bite down, and you catch them that way. So it's kind of cool. You just go in there, you find them, you start a fight with them, and then you pull them out of the water. It's kind of crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we got to talk about fire season.
Okay, so yes, I wanted to say this towards the end because I don't want to put out many specifics of fire season because it changes so rapidly, and for us to put out any information could be irresponsible to people listening and that are maybe impacted by it. But right now we currently have 2 major fires, the Dixie Fire, the Tamarack Fire. There are other fires going on, but the Dixie Fire is in Plumas and Butte County, and it's leaking over into Lassen County. That thing is scary. Last night, it grew a cloud of smoke 40,000 feet into the air, and it started shooting off lightning. It created its own lightning. There's a ton of evacuations. It also is right near the burn scar of the campfire, which luckily it went the other direction. Luckily for Paradise, not luckily for anyone that lives in its wake. But it's in that Feather River Canyon. Once again, it looks like PG&E started it.
It put PG&E equipment. They didn't go light a match.
PG&E equipment started it in almost the exact same spot that they started the Paradise Fire. So that's a bad situation altogether. And our condolences to anyone who's dealing with it right now. I just got a message from a person in Lassen who said, they basically turned off the power to the entire Lassen County. The Lassen National Forest is closed. So it's kind of crazy over there. The other fire is the Tamarack Fire, which is around 40,000 acres right now. 0% containment. Also had a massive cloud of smoke, which was emanating lightning bolts yesterday. And this doesn't even, we won't even get too much into the Bootleg Fire, which is in southern Oregon, and I believe it's actually crossed the California border, so it technically is NorCal. 388,000 acres in freaking July, this isn't even supposed to, fire season's supposed to be starting right now, but that's sort of the national big fire over there in southern Oregon, which is just absolutely tragic. So it's kind of crazy because I remember when we decided to cover wildfires on Active NorCal, and it was because I was trying to go to an event and it got closed due to smoke. And it was this cool outdoor event that I wanted to go to. And I said, well, if these fires are going to impact this type of stuff, we'll write about it on the website. And that was in 2017. And things have changed. And now sometimes I feel like we just report on fires because, you look at the entirety of the Plumas National Forest and the Lassen National Forest are on fire. And it's what we have to talk about this stuff. But now I feel like we've become fire, journalists, which is not what we intended to be, but it's certainly necessary. So these last few years have been really difficult. And, this drought is once again top of mind. It's really hard to deal with.
Remember when we had the year of El Nino where it just rained like crazy? Can we just have another one of those? We've been struggling. If the people that live in California were the original settlers, they would have been screw this place. This is way too hot, way too dry. There's never precipitation. It sucks. And when people ask me ooh, what's your podcast about? I always go to at some point, and we can't help but talk about fires and droughts because that affects your ability to go out and do recreational things in Northern California. So it's unfortunate that we have to talk about it.
It feels weird to go and just be go out and do this and do that and be happy because things aren't so happy right now.
Yeah, you listeners need to understand that we work very hard to try to come up with content for you guys. We had a whole year where you're not supposed to leave the house. Our entire business is around being outside pretty much.
You could go outdoors, and that, quite frankly, that was the most traffic we've ever done on the website was people looking for stuff to do outdoors in May of whatever that was, 2020.
Last year.
Yeah. But it's... I don't know what to say. I've had so many friends lose their homes. We've seen people die. We've seen all this stuff. We've seen whatever it is, 7 of the 10 largest fires in California. I think it's more actually now. It's 8 of the largest 10 ever in California's history happened in the last 3 years. This year has already burned 25 times the amount of acreage at this point than last year. And last year was the worst wildfire season in California's history. Everything's going to burn. I don't know. And I was talking to our father who was thinking about moving up to some areas up in the Sierra near Sacramento. He liked the area and he wanted to be closer to us. And he just said, you know what? I don't want to be in a fire zone. He's like, it's just not worth it at my age. And you look at, there's this town, what's the name of the town? Shoot. They were burned. There's been houses destroyed in this small town in the Sierra twice in the past year. Like, these communities are getting ravaged, and it's very dangerous. And so I don't, it's just crazy, and it's really sad, and I don't know, there's nothing we can do. We don't necessarily have the resources to control them like we want to, and we're sort of at the, it's nature is doing whatever it wants, and like we can't control it. It's a drought, but it's like, shit, man. So I guess that's all I have to say about wildfires. I don't know. It's really frustrating, I think, for me. And luckily, you and I live in an area that's not, and specifically for that reason, I don't want to live where, we could lose our house at any moment. We grew up with that. We grew up in an area that we saw wildfires all the time, and we used to have to evacuate all the time, but they were nothing like this. If they were like this, we would have lost our home back then, So, and I have friends back in the 90s and early 2000s that lost their homes in fires, but it was nothing like this. So I don't know. It's, I guess I should stop rambling on about this because I'm passionate about it, but this sucks.
We'll say it again and again. We just need water.
Yeah, sorry.
We're only happy when it rains.
I didn't know I hit the same one. Let's do another one. No, let's do your favorite one.
Better grab your umbrella. I'll make it rain. I'll make it rain. I'll make it rain in NorCal.
And it's not a funny subject, but we're just trying to lighten it up a little bit because it's like, yeah, we sit here, we started a fun podcast, and now we just talk about freaking fires all the time and fish dying and everything, and ski resorts not having any snow and lakes not having any water, and it's really depressing.
We all love NorCal. We all don't want to leave NorCal, so all we can hope for is just more rain.
Stay safe. Be ready. If they tell you to evacuate, freaking evacuate. Go to CAL FIRE's website and learn how to protect your space. They have a lot of really good stuff on that. But just stay safe out there, and we'll continue to try to bring you the best information we can so you know where to go and what you can do when you go. You should probably avoid just any campfires, any fires at all. Definitely don't do any fireworks or anything like that. And also be careful about your car, because cars actually start a lot of these fires, whether it's something dragging on the road and everything. So just do your part to not start anything, because we already have to deal with these lightning fires that are killing us right now. So that's it. I'll stop talking about wildfires.
And that's it. That's what we got for this episode.
Okay, that does it for this episode of the Talking NorCal podcast. I guess I got nothing. What do you got going on this week? You're out. You got your news segment and
got news. You and I might go play 18 holes tomorrow.
Yep.
I got to edit this, and I have partnered with a new winery. I think we might have talked about it a little bit. I work for Nostra Vita Winery in Lodi now, so I'm doing their social media and events, and so I go back to work on Thursday, and it's good. What about you? What do you got going on this week?
Yeah, same old.
Same old.
I got nothing. I'm trying to do very little, like traveling and vacation and stuff, and just a lot of work to do, a lot of stuff going on. So that's it. Exciting end to this episode of the Talking NorCal podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on social media and look for these videos on YouTube. We post everything to Talking NorCal and our highlights on the Active NorCal YouTube page. And remember, stay active.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to do to kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're